Hey Laurie, I'm so happy to be connected to you because I've been following your work on Instagram and on YouTube for such a long time. Um, Literally, whenever I feel upset or fearful, I just watch a video and I feel like so calm and like centered and soothed again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God for your content. So I wanted to have you on the podcast on YouTube. I just wanted to connect with you because I feel like your energy is really healing right now, especially. So
Oh,
welcome. And yeah, definitely introduce yourself.
thank you, Kathy, for letting me come on and share. Um, it's such an honor to be here, and we're all navigating these powerful shifts in consciousness right now, and I basically just allow myself to open, and it's not my information, it's not my messages, right? It's from a higher perspective, which is what, or higher dimensional beings, which is what allows us to sort of relax. It's like, oh, okay, everything's okay, and we're going to be okay. Everything's fine. And the messages that everybody hears and receives is from the higher realms. So that's what's so relaxing about it. It's not me, right? If I was talking, it'd be like a completely different energy. So yeah, it's great to be here. I'm so happy to share whatever and whoever and all of it right now. So it's beautiful.
So I would be curious, when did you realize that, beings are connecting to you and wanting to channel information through you to be shared with the world? Because I'm sure you didn't start just in 2020. You obviously started way, way before that. But how did you realize there's something about me where I feel like there's messages that are more than just, helpful for my own personal life? It's something bigger.
Around 2017 is really when they started coming in. I was living in Mount Shasta. I was living here in Marin County, and then my guides told me to go to Mount Shasta, just pack up and hightail it to Mount Shasta. And I was like, I just started my business online. I wasn't making a lot of money. I didn't know how I was going to survive. There's nothing up in Mount Shasta. I was really nervous about it, but I knew that I had to follow it. I had to follow that guidance, even though it was super scary. And when I was up there, within a couple of months, I started receiving sort of information through me that sounded like me, but wasn't me, wasn't my higher self. And I knew I had to pay attention to it, and I knew it was important. And as I started sitting with these beings, different beings came in, and it was not just the same beings, right? And it was the Antares beings, it was the Andromedas, it was Pleiadians. And when I say come in, it literally is energy, and it just sounds like you kind of talking to yourself, right? And so I knew that that was how I sort of channeled, so I didn't doubt it. But I also realized this is much bigger than just information for me. This is about sharing this information with the world, and even more is connecting the human aspect of us, the ego, mind, personality, to these beings again. Because it's very different dimensional field, so we can't see it. And I recognize, as I began to surrender and trust more and more of what was coming through, that this was why I was here, was to be the conduit, or the bridge, so to speak, between the human aspect of us and these beings. And I just kept saying, okay, who else? What else? What do you want me to do? How do you want me to show up? And really learning how to surrender into that. And, the biggest piece for me when I was doing this, learning how to really surrender to this was, and I say this all the time to everybody, you have to choose to believe it.
Yeah.
And if you get to choose, so you either believe it or you don't.
Yeah.
And I always say, why would you choose not to believe it? Why not just believe what you may be feeling, or you may be hearing, or you may be receiving? Just choose to believe it. because we never have somebody standing by saying, yep, that's it.
That's what a lot of people think, you know, that there's just like aliens walking into your front door and being like, this is the message you need to share.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be really concrete, and you're going to receive it and it's going to make sense, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I got this information or this download. And it's quite the opposite. For a lot of us, it's very much navigating this dark sort of canvas, which is the multidimensional world, right? It's very dark, meaning you can't see it. It's energy. And you have to learn how to navigate into those energetic fields and unravel sort of what is in that energy, right? And as soon as we understand more and more, or remember how the energy comes through, that it moves through our channel, which is basically the energetic channel in the body, that's how it works. And we all digest, or what's the word I'm looking for? We all will hear the information or the energy differently, whether it is through your own voice, whether it's through writing, whether it is through art. But a lot of it is getting out of the way of this ideal way of seeing this and how it's supposed to be. Like, oh, it's going to sound like this random large voice, or they're going to come into my room and I'm going to see them, or I'm going to really absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt. That's not how it is a lot of times. It's just not.
I almost feel like it's learning, like for us humans, it's like learning a new language. That's like the process that we have right now. It's like we first of all understand what our five senses are, right? What the human experience is, and then how actually, you know, emotions and energy, all of that, that's like a different language that we sort of have never really learned about, right? Because for most people in their upbringing, there's, you know, not as much emotional intelligence, and then, you know, you have childhood conditioning where we start suppressing emotions and we see them as evil and we don't trust them, instead of, like, I love to see emotions as our guides, right? It's like guiding us into the right direction. And for me, when I know something has to be shared, I feel it in my heart. It's like activating my heart. It's like excitement, it's joy, it's pleasure, for no reason other than the message. And then I know it has to be true. You know, why would you question something that feels good, right?
Exactly. So one of the ways that we channel is through the visceral sort of physical feelings we experience, like you're talking about, right? So a lot of times when I do these journeys with the public and I bring the beings into the room, a lot of people will say, I just started crying. I just started bawling. Why was I crying? Why did I start crying? Why could I not stop crying the whole time? The energy of these beings move into your channel. So you have to physically see. You want to really recognize what's happening. Remember, right, that this energy is coming in and you're digesting it. And when you digest it, you feel emotion. You're like, oh my God, I feel this specific emotion when I connect to the Palladians. I feel a different emotion. And that's you channeling, which is the energy coming through the channel, them, right? So you're absolutely right. We're learning a new way of communicating multidimensionally. And it is not look anything like the way we have communicated in a third dimensional realm. It doesn't sound the same. It doesn't look the same. It doesn't feel the same. It's completely different. And you have to be able to surrender into this unknown, uncontrollable state of, oh, this is all about coming inward. This is all about trusting what I'm experiencing, not anyone else. And it's about remembering how to do this, because we all know, and we all know how to do this as the higher consciousness. We just are remembering how the physical body allows us to do this, because the physical body is designed to be able to channel or connect to these beings. We are designed to connect with them. It's our innate birthright. So it's not a matter of I'm blocked, I'm disconnected, I can't. It's a matter of remembering how. That's it. Just remembering how it works. And the more we can see it as like a science class, physics, as opposed to this like woo-woo spiritual thing, the easier it will be, because it's truth. It just is. And there aren't any tricks around it. It's just physics. It's just energy in a higher frequency that you have to intend and recognize is here. You have to open up your channel, right? So you want to intend that you are going to open. I'm opening the front door. I'm opening the garage door. I'm opening to this energy. And then you have to recognize, oh yeah, the energy comes in. So that means I have to be in the body. And then I have to let go and just feel. What do I feel? Do I hear anything? Do I see anything? And then there's more steps, right? How do you navigate the energies, telling the beings to come to the right or the left, in front of you, behind you? There's all kinds of cool techniques and tools to use to start to really engage with these beings, because they want to engage with us as much as we want to engage with them. So, you know, a lot of times what we do is we're like, well, how come they're not in front of me? How come they're not talking to me? And it's like, they are, but there's a barrier. Yeah. There's a dimensional barrier. So we have to meet them, and they come down a little bit in dimension, and we have to go up in dimension, meaning we have to open to this quantum space, to how it all works. And it's not, you don't need any gifts. You don't have to be in a specific frequency. You don't have to have your traumas healed or cleared. You don't have to eat certain foods. You don't have to meditate and put crystals all around you. You could, they don't care. You could be like the most like non-spiritual, you know, I don't even know what person, and you can absolutely open up and connect with these beings. So it doesn't matter. We have these spiritual rules or kind of boxed ways sort of like, oh, well, if you're going to do this, then you need to be this. And it's just not true.
Because that actually was a conversation I had with one of my clients. She was like, I'm scared that I won't be able to come back to the world when I connect with these beings. And I was like, what do you mean? You are in the world. Like, it's not possible for you to leave the world. And then she said, you know, it's like, it feels like such a harsh difference between, you know, her family life and then her spiritual life. And she feels like she will be lost and she won't be able to connect. And I feel like that's really the vibration of 2020, where a lot of people are waking up. And then how can you stay connected with the people in your environment or in your family maybe that are not on the I don't want to say level, because it's not about levels, but, you know, that are just on a different journey, I guess.
Such a good question. And it's super valid, because you're exactly right. This is what 2020 is all about. It's about the integration into unity, into wholeness, into merging, right? Not only externally are we unifying, right? Yeah. But we are also unifying our multidimensionality, which means that we can be a bus driver or a teacher or a doctor or a stock broker, and we can be connecting to the Octurians every day. This is not about black and white, or you either choose this or that. It's about the integration of our multidimensionality and becoming whole again inside the physical body, which means that we're still very human. We're very third dimensional. We eat our pizzas and our French fries and our burgers, and we get in fights with humans, right? Maybe, and we're human, but we are also connected to the knowingness that we are much more than the human, and that we are incarnated as higher consciousness in form, and that we are connected to higher dimensional beings in every now moment. And it doesn't mean that you escape, you separate, you leave. You learn how to integrate it, it's like, you know, you have this new $5,000 purse, right? And yet you live a very normal, you know, life, and yet you've got this really fancy purse now, right? So everyone's going to look at you like, oh, what do you think, you're so cool because you got this crazy purse, and you feel sort of like out of the, you sort of feel different, right? But there's nothing different about you, right? There's nothing different. It's just that you now have to you have to get people to get comfortable with the fact that you got this fancy purse now, right? So as you start connecting and remembering your, whether it's galactic or angelic or higher consciousness of any type, you learn to navigate how you communicate that to your family and your friends that are nowhere near awakening into that knowingness. So it's not about ignoring it or shushing it or quieting it. It's about learning how to wear that purse gently with the rest of your family and friends in a way that is humble and grounded and confident and secure, but not forcing or pushing, because just because you are doing it doesn't mean they need to do it or they ever will need to do it, right? Nobody ever has to wake up. Our role is not to force other humans to wake up. That's not our role. Our role is to stay awakened and continue to hold higher frequencies and to see through all of the layers of dimensions that's in front of us. And that in and of itself is enough, right? So a lot of times people say, well, why is my husband not waking up? Why is my wife not waking up? Why are my partners not waking up? They're not going to make it. They're not going to come. Well, there is no making it. This is a multi-lifetime process. And it's all free will and choice, right? So we want to let go of trying to make somebody else come along with us, let them just have their life.
I feel a big part of that is also the fear of that we can't really connect with these people anymore that are not sort of like on the same journey, because we might be interested in a different topic, we might be interested in completely different dialogues, and we love to obviously engage with more spiritual people, so to speak, right, instead of the mundane life. So that might be the fear that we have inside of us, that we won't be able to connect to them again. But maybe it's not even that they judge us or that they are not coming with us. It's more so that we feel a shift inside of us, and that's actually scary, that we are changing internally.
Fabulous point. Well, we are.
Yeah.
You are, right? So that fear is valid, because then it's like, oh, well, if I'm shifting and things are changing, things that I like are changing, the way I communicate is changing, the way I see things is changing, I'm looking through all the paradigms, right? And my partner isn't. How do I navigate that, right? Well, you're learning to have compassion. You're learning empathy. So, and you're learning non-duality. If you are in a partnership right now where your partner isn't necessarily shifting with you, then one of the lessons you're sort of giving yourself, consciously or unconsciously, is how to have compassion, empathy, and non-duality, which means I'm not going to judge them, right? I am not going to make anything right or wrong in terms of where I am or where they are. I'm going to let them have their experiences and their opinions. And it's very possible that they are not going to be able to see my view, okay, or how I am. And that's okay, right? If I have an open heart, if I have compassion, and if I have empathy for that person, I won't take it personally. It's almost impossible to take things personally when you have empathy, which means I'm going to put myself in my husband's shoes. He doesn't understand me. That's okay. I understand, I can see and understand that he doesn't understand me. He's not holding the same frequencies as me. That's okay. We take it personally when we feel as if there's a battle or a right wrong or a this is the way and this isn't the way, or whatever that is, right? So if you are shifting and awakening and opening to all of this, beautiful. You're doing it with partners that may not be. It's about compassion for them and you, empathy for them and you, and non-duality. How do I see us in relation or partnership in a way that is, this isn't bad. This isn't like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my partner because I'm awakening. It doesn't have to be that way. It's just different frequencies and allowing them to just have whatever they're going to have, right? Not taking it personally, practicing that.
because it's a lesson for both sides. Obviously, he is learning something with you in that situation as well. And maybe, you know, not at the beginning, but on the journey, he will join you or be inspired by you leading by example, so to speak, right? And not compromising, but at the same time meeting him with empathy, meeting him with love, like not really having any sort of crazy changes in the relationship because of that. I think that's the key, because that also builds trust in him that it's okay to be awakening and to be on the journey, and that, you know, not your whole life will change because of that, because that's something we have to bring onto the table, that it's actually just waking up to our natural state. It's not doing something crazy. That's what a lot of people think.
Exactly. It's just shifting frequencies. It's moving into higher frequencies, and it's reconnecting to who you actually are as a higher consciousness. It's very natural. And you want to look at partnerships, relationships, friendships, work relationships. You want to look at human to human as frequency. And that's, if you start looking at things as frequency, you really start to take away judgments or attachments or expectations, because you're like, oh, well, here's my partner, my wife or my husband, and they can't see what I can see. You know, they're not having the same experience that I'm having, even though we both are sitting in the living room, we're both watching the same thing, but we're both having different reactions or responses to it. Instead of saying right, wrong, good, bad, we need to be on the same page, you see it as frequency. Oh, he's at a totally different, not bad, not low, not high, just a different frequency. She's at a different frequency and she's responding differently. And then you take the pressure off of, excuse me, right or wrong. And your partner may say, I don't understand you. You've lost your mind. You're crazy. And you can just, you know, nod your head and say, you know, well, it's okay. We're going to agree to disagree, or whatever that is. So it doesn't mean you're going to break up. It doesn't mean you have to end the partnership or the marriage or whatever that is. You know, a lot of people think that if they start awakening and shifting and stepping into these things, that it means, there's a belief around this, that you're going to have to separate from your partner. You're going to have to separate from your friends. And that's not necessarily the case whatsoever. You're sovereign. You are in control of all of this, and you can navigate being in relationship with, I mean, I have tons of people in my life, well, a handful, that are not awake. And I have relationships with them. You know, when I talk to them, I know that we are going to have a conversation that is not going to be the same conversation that I would have with my mother, who's completely awake, right? It's not, you don't make it right or wrong. It just, it is what it is, you know? I mean, my brother is very much, he buys into a lot of things that I don't, you know? He has a lot of anxiety, a lot of fears. So what? Okay. So that's his view. That's his experience. And when I'm on the phone with him, I see him as having that human experience, and I'm not, period. I don't have to convince him of anything. I don't have to try to make him see my way, right? When you are confident in your own frequency, your sovereign field, your truths, your knowingnesses, you don't ever need to convince somebody. You don't ever need to feel defensive when somebody doesn't agree or believe, because you're in a sovereign state, which means that you're in your body, in your physical frequency, allowing your energetic field to kind of pulsate out your frequency, and you're solid in it. You're like, I'm good regardless of who's around me. We've got to get to that state where we can stand in the arena of all these different frequencies, and we don't have to run and hide. We don't have to get angry or judgmental or try to force somebody to be in my frequency, in my sovereign field, right? We just stand in it and say, I'm good. Like, you know, whatever you got, that's fine. I'm good. I'm good with where I'm at. I'm good with my energy. I'm good with my knowingness. I'm good with my truths. And then it becomes real easy to navigate other people.
I think the key here for a lot of people is also that they have to first get to know themselves in a really, really new way. And that's challenging too, because a lot of people then want approval that they are still lovable, still accepted in society and all of that. And, you know, it really takes a while. And I actually love the fact that we have had so much time in isolation to get to know ourselves in a completely new way, in a more intimate way, because we've been so distracted for for forever, really. And now it's a completely new way of relating to yourself. And that's interesting. It's like meeting yourself every single day and having a chat, having a conversation, like really checking in with yourself. And, you know, I feel like we, at this point, probably don't even have to bother about the people around us, because when you believe in frequency, it will naturally, you know, come to you. Like the people that support you will come to you the more you focus on your own frequency. And a lot of people think it's the other way around.
Absolutely. And it's so true what a lot of us have been surrendering to, which is coming back to ourselves, having conversations with ourselves every day, arguing with ourselves, fighting with ourselves, right? Loving ourselves, not loving ourselves. I mean, it's been a massive personal growth journey, this quarantine, for many of us that have courageously said, okay, I'm surrendering to this silence. And the more that we courageously move inward, the more we courageously trust what we know to be our truth, regardless of what anyone else is saying. You know, as humans in third dimension, we are programmed to be told what to do. We have been programmed to follow what we are told from the beginning of the moment we breathe. So we are conditioned to be told and then to do. And we are conditioned, many of us, to follow the herd, to follow the pack, right? Without saying, pause, what is my truth? And your truth is your resonance, and your resonance is your frequency. And the way you know your truth, your actual truth, is by moving into your body, finding your breath, settling into you, finding quiet, solitude, peace for 1 second, 1 minute, 5 minutes, and feeling what feels right to you, which is your truth. And the more you go in and settle in quiet and feel what you are resonating with, regardless of what any external source is telling you, the easier it is to navigate what is unraveling externally. And the easier it is to stand in the arena, which we're all in right now, and to let it all unravel, let the chaos begin and continue, because I am comfortable in my resonance. I'm comfortable with my truths. I'm comfortable with feeling anger. I'm comfortable with feeling sadness. I'm comfortable when I need to express. I'm comfortable when I need to speak. We learn this, believe it or not, it's crazy, but we have to learn this. We have to learn how to be sovereign, and that's sovereignty, right? It's all about feeling, which is not just feeling emotion, it's feeling you, feeling your energy, which is your truth. And when you start doing that, this is the beautiful piece that unravels without us realizing. As we start coming inward to our bodies and our breath and our resonance and all of that, I mean, there's 1,000 things that unravel, but one of them is that we stop judging people. We just stop, slowly but surely, right? There's groups there's groups of humans that you're like, I'm still going to judge those humans. I'm sorry, I am judging, right? But you'll start noticing that there's other people in your life that you don't judge anymore, because you are understanding sovereignty. You're understanding your frequency, your truth. And when you go in there and feel that and understand it from that energetic perspective, you realize like, oh, holy shit, everybody is sovereign. Everybody has their own truth. Everybody has their own frequency. Who am I to judge? You think about judgment, it's insane, actually, because you're judging somebody's frequency. It's like, why would I judge someone's frequency? It's their frequency, but that's what we're doing.
I mean, yeah, we already started judging emotions, right? So it's just another thing. But obviously, when we think about, you know, us really learning what our own frequency is, how do you then navigate different frequency wanting to connect to you and really, you know, understanding what is my frequency? who is actually right now talking to me or trying to connect with me, right? Because you mentioned, for example, when you saw me, that you feel like I have different beings around me. And how do you understand, you know, what frequency is around someone or around you? How do you navigate that?
Well, you have to like break it down as like, imagine like you're 5 years old, right? You're not going to just all of a sudden go into senior class in math and sit down, right? You have to start, even though your mom will say, oh, one day you're going to be in college and you're going to understand algebra. And you're sitting there like, I don't even know how to add yet. Like, right. So that's what it's like when you start navigating the beings around you. You can't jump to senior year, right? Even though you want to jump to senior year, and even though you want to be able to do all the crazy math equations, you have to start at ground zero, which is you have to quiet yourself. You got to quiet yourself. I mean, if you're just beginning, you've got to get into a quiet space. You've got to move into your body. So you have to find your breath. You cannot connect without being in your body for the most part. You have to open your channel up, which means you have to open up your seventh energy center, because that opens up. And a lot of us will say, well, how do I know if it's open or not? Just intend that your energy center is open, that seventh energy center is open. By intending it, you are opening it. You have to invite them into your space. So you invite, and it doesn't matter if you know who they are. You can say things like, I am inviting in my family of light. I'm inviting in my star family. I'm inviting in the angelic realm. I'm inviting in my team that's been with me since the moment I dropped in. I'm inviting in the beings for my highest good right now. And then you settle. So it's as simple as that. You find a quiet space. You commit every day, if you can, to do this. You find a quiet space, eyes closed, bring yourself into your body with your breath. Open up your seventh energy center. Stay in your body. Invite the beings in. And then you settle. You just chill out. Set your phone for 5 minutes. Set it for 10 minutes. This isn't a meditation. You're not meditating. You're not raising your vibration. You're not moving out of your body. The intention is to stay in your body, to remember that you've got that energetic channel. So when the beings come in, by the way, as soon as you open, they're right there.
They're just waiting.
Yeah, they're right there. So it's not that you are blocked or that you can't feel or that you can't hear. When that teleprompter goes through as you're sitting, oh, I'm not hearing anything. I'm not feeling anything. I'm not seeing anything. Let that go. Because if you buy into that teleprompter, those thoughts, then you're going to be in that thought process. And that's not true. I'm telling you right now, all of you that are wanting to connect and wanting to engage, they are there. It's an absolute. It's an absolute. They are there, especially if you intend to bring them into your space. It's not if you believe you're blocked, if you believe you can't hear, if you believe you can't feel, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to be sitting there suffering while all these beings are around you saying, we're right here, but you're believing the teleprompter. So when the teleprompter thoughts come through, choose to not believe it. And it is a very, very subtle, patient process of feeling. And I can promise you, if you commit to doing this every day, you will start to first energetically feel them. You'll start to maybe hear them. You'll start to see things. It's an absolute. So a lot of us have this expectation of it's going to happen. I'm going to be in senior year high school. I'm going to know how to do algebra. No, you're not. No, you're not. You have to learn or remember. It's baby steps. Most of us aren't even in our bodies when we think we are. So we got to get in our bodies. We got to remember how this works. And we got to let go of controlling it, right? So you got to let go of trying to control how all of this unravels, how they come in, how you're going to see them, how you're going to feel them. It's not your job. That's the ego. The ego wants to control it. The ego wants to say, oh, by the way, Kathi, you're supposed to feel them. By the way, you're supposed to hear them. By the way, you're supposed to see them, right? Why are you not seeing them, feeling them, hearing them, right? All these things, that's the ego. Let the ego sit down next to you. Stay in your body, breathe, watch the expectations, watch the attachments, and just know beyond a shadow of a doubt they're there.
It's so true, because when I think back on my journey, I definitely noticed, like I don't want to say the reason, but when I started diving into astrology, I knew that something crazy was sort of happening, because I was not interested in astrology. All of a sudden I was, and I dove into it. And it was literally after I dedicated a morning routine into my whole life. Like I didn't have a morning routine. I started doing that. I think that was in 2018. And obviously I found back to myself more. I was more centered, more grounded, and all of that. And then obviously then, my interest in spirituality increased. But then astrology came into my life, and I realized, wow, I don't know where I know all of that from. Like I don't even have to study as much. And now looking back, I feel like it was almost as if whoever is working with me, right, because I haven't defined them yet, is giving me a tool to have something to look at, right, when I sit in front of another person and I look at their chart. But it's really not necessarily only looking at the chart and analyzing that. It's like I tap into their energy and I know exactly what they need to hear. And I don't know where I know that from. And I also don't know, because I haven't studied astrology for 20 crazy years or something like that. It's just something that flows out of me and I can't explain. Right?
And that's what it's like when you start connecting to them.
Yeah.
It's magic, and you don't know how you're doing it. Even though I tell you how you're doing it, you kind of forget and you're just doing it. And it's like, you don't really know how it's working, but it's working, and you can't believe that it's working. And it's like, oh my God, they're actually here. You were actually right. I have so many people that in my Patreon community that will say, oh my God, I can't believe I can feel them. I can't believe they're actually here. I can't believe you were right. I can't believe this happened. Or, oh my God, I saw this time. I mean, it's really, it's just so amazing that it doesn't matter who you are. It's natural. It's natural. We're designed to walk around awake, eyes open, connected to our guides, connected to our higher self, hearing, receiving all day long. All day long. And we have to learn. So we have to shut off first and get quiet. But all of us will be all of us that are consciously ascending will be in that state. We'll be in that place where we can walk around aligned and connected. Hold on a second. Got something in my throat the whole time we've been talking. But when I connected to you, the first thing I saw were beings all around you. And so these beings are around you, right? And they're around everybody that's listening. And so you, as the human aspect, the ego, mind, personality, have to sort of shut that piece off. And you got to come into the vessel that actually connects to their energy, which is your body, right? And the best way to come into the body and sort of open to the energies around you is to shut everything off. So closing the eyes helps, right? Because it shuts off any stimuli. Quietness shuts off stimuli, right? And then you start to feel the energies. And a really good technique that I always teach is you want to engage with them like they're actually humans, right? You want to talk to them like, okay, I want you to stand to my right. I want you to stand to my left. I want you to put your energetic hands on my heart center. I want you to touch my throat. I want you to touch my third eye. And as you start engaging with them like that and starting to navigate them around your room, you'll start to feel like, holy shit, I actually felt something in my heart center when I asked them to do that, right? Or I want you to flood me with light right now. They'll do it. So instead of just sort of sitting and kind of waiting, you want to engage. So you really want to start to talk to them, regardless of whether you hear anything back right now, right? You want to talk. You want to ask questions. You want to have them move in front of you, show you what they look like. Like, show me, do you have fingers? Do you have hands? Do you have, talk to them? They're real, right? Like, engage. Imagine that you're sitting at a breakfast table. And there can be a lot of frustration in the beginning because you're like, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not feeling anything. Who cares? Keep doing it. You're trying to experience a different dimension. It's not easy. But if you want it bad enough, you'll do it. And you won't let that teleprompter of limiting beliefs veer you off course.
It's so interesting. When you started talking, my left ear started ringing like crazy. I have that all the time, but this time it was like really intense. I'm like, what is happening? My ear.
Yeah, so if you were to just spend like even 2 minutes, it doesn't even have to be a long process, right? 2 minutes where you sit, close your eyes, bring yourself into your body, breathe, open your crown, call the beings in. So there's a lot of different galactic beings around you that I feel, but the Sirians and the Palladians are pretty strong, pretty powerful, pretty like potently there. The other thing about these galactic beings and angelic beings and stuff, it's not necessarily your star family or your family of light that shows up first. And so you don't want to be super restricted in like, you know, it's got to be my family of light, and what does this mean? And if it's these beings, what does it mean? You don't want to be so tightly wound in terms of the names and is it my family of light? Is it not my family of light? What does this mean? You want to just be in a really open, expanded, surrendered state. Like, who cares? Whatever I receive, right? So, because eventually you'll unravel where you came from. Eventually you'll unravel who you're here to work with first. But these are the beings that are really around you that I'm feeling. You also have a ton of angelic beings around you. So the way you would connect is you would quiet yourself and sit, bring yourself into your body. Remember that channel. Remember the energy is going to come in, open the crown, call them in, see what happens.
I was watching your video about if you're an angelic basically being or come from an angelic background or a galactic background. That's I think that's the video. I can definitely link that down below. And I really felt like I'm very much connected to angelic beings my whole life. And the morning afterwards, it was actually pretty insane. I woke up and I saw a feather next to my pillow. And obviously that could be the pillow, but it never happened before. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so incredible.
Yeah, there's also a lot of fairies around you, but yeah, there's a huge angelic presence. And so it's possible that you're from the angelic realm, but you're also going to be working with a lot of galactic beings. And one of the reasons why we work with the galactic beings, if we're from the angelic realm, is because there's messages, there's information, there's guidance, there's knowledge that we're going to be receiving from them. It's almost like when you go to school, you don't just go to one teacher and one class and one subject, right? Like if you're in 5th grade or 6th grade, you don't just go in and you're only going to learn English, right? It's like, no, you go and you're going to learn all these subjects from all these different amazing teachers, right? And so that's how you kind of want to see the galactic beings. It's like, they are our teachers. They are us. We are them, a lot of us, not all of us, right? But we're connected to so many of them because they have so much information for us and guidance and knowledge. And it's like, oh, okay, if the Palladians are here today, what do they want to share with me? What do they want to tell me today? What do they want to remind me? Oh, the Sirians are here. What do they want to tell me? What do they want to remind me, right? So it's not this pigeonholed box of like, oh, well, if it's the Palladians, then I'm only supposed to be connecting with the Palladians and that's it. And no, it's so much bigger than this kind of boxed in sort of way of experiencing it, right? Like, we just want to be open and expanded with it all, you know.
The main, I guess, question for a lot of people also is, how do I understand what sort of beings are connected to me, because obviously they won't speak English necessarily and say, hey, hello, this is the Palladian speaking, like what we see, or our idea about how that works. And it obviously works differently because, again, they have a different language.
So I'm sorry, there's other things coming in right now. So the human know that you just don't know. So what that means is you ask, who are you, right? And then of course we have the ego and the personality that's going to like, oh my God, did I hear it? Oh my God, did I hear it? What did I hear? Did they say that? Did they not say it? Wait, did I miss it? Wait, how do I know that? Like, that's what's going to happen, right? You're going to ask the question and then you're going to be like, what did they say? Did I hear it? I didn't hear anything. Hold on. Maybe they said Palladian. Maybe they said Syrian. Oh my God, I can't hear anything. Now what am I going to do? I can't even hear anything. I'm never going to ask again. Forget about it. I'm not going to ask. This isn't working. That's the ego. Let's listen to that. Okay. That's what's going to happen when you ask in the beginning, right? So when you ask, they tell you it's an intuitive hit. It's a knowingness. Something will pop in. It always pops in. Yeah. Okay. But you've got to be in a surrendered state to allow it to settle into you, to be hit by it. Right. If you ask and then you're in this restricted, controlled state, where is it? What is it? How is it coming in? When I didn't hear anything. Oh my God, how come I didn't hear anything? Wait, maybe I need to ask in a different way. Then you're like this, you're restricted, you're tight. You won't necessarily feel that hit when it comes in. So it's not a matter of not receiving it. They're telling you. It's a matter of, oh, okay, let me imagine that I'm on a hammock and I'm just swinging in the hammock when I ask the question. And that's it. I'm looking at the birds. I'm looking at the trees and the clouds, right? There's beings around me. I'm asking them and I don't really care. If it comes in, it comes in. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You're in a surrendered state, right? You don't care. You want to be in that place of, I don't care, right? That's the surrendered sort of state that that you can kind of find you can force yourself into surrender when you're like, I don't care the answer. And then you'll feel a hit, like maybe you'll hear Jesus. It's like, wait a second, I didn't ask for Jesus to come in. Why is Jesus coming in, right? So then we start debating on the name that we heard when it's Jesus in front of you saying, I'm sorry, I'm the one that's here right now, right? So if we have this idea of like, oh, it's going to be a galactic being, right? And we say, who are you? And it's Mary Magdalene. And we're like, Mary Magdalene? I didn't ask for Mary Magdalene to come in. And we don't believe it. And then we want to trust everything that we hear, right? We want to let the ego go. So imagine yourself in a surrendered state with no expectation, floating on it, swinging on a hammock, like throwing it out, just asking, but I don't care. I could care less. You're tricking yourself, right? You're tricking the ego. But you've got to get in that surrendered state. You can't care what the answer is. And when you don't care, you receive.
It's like, it's a different dynamic between being in control, because a lot of people are so afraid of losing control when they connect to them. But you are actually in the driver's seat because you invite them in, you ask them questions, like you are literally in control in that situation, and you're also anchored into your body, but at the same time you're surrendering. So it's like this fine dynamic between being in control and surrendering.
You're asking so many great questions. Yes, that's exactly, yes, because you're always in control. You can tell them to leave. Yeah. You're inviting them in. And you're engaging with them. You're in charge. You're driving the ship, right? Mm-hmm. And you get to tell them to leave in any now moment and they're gone. They listen to free will. That's why they're not coming in and like rattling you, right? They honor free will. And at the same time, you have to let go. So it's like you're putting your car in cruise control. At any time, you can stop cruise control. So just because the car's in cruise control doesn't mean you're not in charge. It just means that you're relaxing and taking a break and swinging on the hammock and saying, what's around? Oh, I can look out to the left. I can stretch my legs, right? But you're still there. You're still in the body. You're still controlling everything. You're just not tight-fisted. Like, okay, I got to make sure this all works exactly the way it's designed to work. So you have to find that, you practice that. You really practice stepping into surrender every time you're with them and telling them what to do, telling them, no, I want you to do this. I need you to do this. I need you to move your frequency down a little bit so I can feel you more. I need you to come closer to me. They understand the difficulty of us experiencing them. They will do anything we ask, anything we ask. Put your hand on my left shoulder and then just settle into the hammock. Do I feel anything? Maybe, kind of. Am I trying to control it, or am I in the hammock just allowing? Right? Who are you guys? What beings are standing here? When you hear it, it's almost like you think you're making it up. So just know that you're going to think that you're making it up.
Yeah.
That is you hearing them, you making it up. It's not you making it up. You're not making it up. I get that all the time. I sat down and I think I might be making this up. I don't know if this is actually real or not. It's real. You're not making anything up. There's no such thing as making it up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because the minute you perceive it, or even have the thought about it, or see something in your mind, it's already there, because it's already energy that you created. It's like already there, right?
Exactly.
So one thing that obviously is really interesting now, looking forward and the upcoming years and everything, is how do we navigate or understand what our actual job is? You know, a lot of people still have to go to work and still have this 3D life, but they feel probably more so called to be connected to these beings. So they might have the question, what is my actual purpose here? Am I, determined to do the work here, to do the light work, to be connected to these beings, to deliver these messages? Or am I still do I still need to go to that job? Like, how do I navigate these sort of different, there are even different frequencies, really. Yeah.
Another great question, and a very popular question. So this is about coming back into wholeness. And when we stop the idea or the notion that in order to be doing my work, it needs to look a certain way. I need to be doing what Kathy's doing. I need to be doing what Lorie's doing. I need to be doing, that means I'm doing my work. There is this idea that we hold in this awakening, ascension, spiritual community, that in order to be serving and doing my purpose or my work, it has to look a certain way. I get it. But what the beings always say to us is, whether you like this answer or not, you are doing the work by being in the physical form, consciously awakening. Because what you are doing is you are serving humanity and the earth plane by courageously holding higher frequencies, period. End of discussion. The case is closed. That is first and foremost doing your work. Now, the human aspect of you doesn't like that answer. And it's not satisfying, perhaps. But what the guides and the galactic beings are always saying is reframe what you're doing. Reframe the fact that if you go to a bank and you're a bank teller and you're ascending and you're consciously aware of everything and you're holding this notion that you're not doing your work, then the light that is emanating out of you, impacting the humans that are coming into contact with you, is just for nothing. You're not, it's not working. You're not doing anything. We can't see how we are impacting the humans in our very mundane third dimensional jobs. We make it wrong. We all need to be dispersed all over the globe. We need to be in banks. We need to be in the taxis. We need to be in the private equity firms. We need to be dispersed. If we were only in a spiritual community, we wouldn't be able to do the massive amount of work that we're doing. So there's lots of different layers here, but one is, can you start to see that where you are, whether it resonates with you in this now moment or not, you are doing your work by allowing yourself to vibrate out the higher frequencies that you're holding that a lot of humans around you aren't. And then can you begin to trust that if and when there is another opportunity for you to step deeper into some sort of work, it will present itself. right? It will present itself. Can you hold that knowingness? A lot of humans can't. It's very challenging. We force and we push and we suffer because we can't accept where we are. Suffering comes from when you can't just surrender and accept where you are. I get it. I've been there. I've done it, right? I still do it sometimes. But it's a reframing. It's a reframing. What if you actually are going to work and doing way more service than a lot of people that are serving, that we would say are doing the purpose work, right? I mean, my mom works at Sprouts grocery store. She's like the biggest freaking light worker I've ever known in my life. And she's 71 years old. She's, she does her little work at the grocery store at Sprouts, and she literally impacts people from all walks of life every day by just being her, right? And so we have to remember, and she knows that. She knows that. And in knowing that, it makes it even more powerful. So if you hate your job, you're miserable with your job and you want to leave your job and you want to do what you came here to do, can you first reframe the fact that you might actually be doing a lot of work right now where you are in the job that you hate? And then can you begin to intend and create a job that you feel more resonance with? Forget about whether it is your purpose or not. Is this my purpose? Is this not my purpose? What is my purpose? What is not my purpose? When we get into that space, it is restricted, right? Because again, remember, your purpose beyond everything else is that you're in the body ascending and holding higher frequencies. And whatever may unravel naturally, like you were saying with your astrology, right? Whatever unravels naturally is going to unravel. It's going to unravel. Hold that openness and awareness and knowingness that it's going to unravel. You don't actually have to do anything. Just trust that when it happens, it's going to happen. When it happens, it's going to happen. And not until that now moment. And that is what we don't like. We don't like to sit in that. It's very uncomfortable.
It's so true. And it actually just got me thinking, obviously with the whole lockdown and everything, many of us have been sent to their home country again, maybe even have to live with their family again. And that feels uncomfortable because they would rather be somewhere else. And actually, that has been my experience too, because I was traveling and now I am actually in a country where I was not planning to be, back in my home country. And I actually was asking my guides many times, like, why is every option that I wanted to go not possible anymore, and I'm stuck here? Like, why is that? But now you helped me see that it's probably because I am doing the work here. Like, even if I am not directly in contact with a lot of people in the area, but maybe it's just, that also like the environment and the land and all of that needs the frequency that I have specifically, whatever it is. But I think for a lot of people that are around their families as well, it will be a similar experience. When you find yourself in an environment that is not as awoke as you are, maybe you are there to inspire them, even not verbally, but just with your frequency, right?
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, it's not what we want to hear. I mean, listen, I get messages all the time from the Galactic Federation of Light that are like, I get so upset because it's like, all right, guys, you're not in the human form. You know what I mean? Like, you guys aren't in here dealing with this. Like, their perspective is so high. It's real, it's true, but it doesn't make it necessarily easier. But you're absolutely right. It doesn't mean we have to stay there, right? Like, you are holding the intention of traveling. You are holding the intention that when it opens, when the energy opens, whenever it is that you're going to travel, that's going to happen. So you're always holding intentions and creating a reality for you, right? Especially if you're not resonating with where you are. So it's not like you have to be stuck in a resonance or a position that you don't like, but you do have to surrender to where you are. So you have to find a surrendered state while you're also intending for a different reality. So it's that fine line, because there is never a mistake. And if you are in a very dense conscious or a dense field, like in your family's home, right? Or in your brother's home or your sister's home or wherever you may be, you're impacting people right now. You're impacting them. You're impacting them by being in your sovereign field. You're impacting the town that you're in. You're impacting the city that you're in. That's really what it means to be a light worker, a starseed, a way shower. All the other ways in which we do it is great. It's extra. But your actual vibration and frequency is what is physically shifting consciousness right now. It doesn't even matter what you say. What you say is extra. We don't see this. So we have a very hard time knowing this. But this is really where the work is. And so if you're positioned in the middle of New York City in an apartment and you're losing your mind, let yourself lose your mind. But can you also see the perspective of, oh, wait a second. There's a frequency coming out of me, and I'm actually shifting this town. I'm actually shifting this block. I'm shifting this city. Whether you agree with it or not, believe it or not, feel it or not. It's actually how we are shifting the collective.
So I loved all of our conversation. And what I'm mostly curious about is what are you excited about looking forward? What do you intuitively feel? I don't want to say what do you intuitively feel will happen, because that will be, a whole nother story. But what are you excited about?
I'm excited about our remembrance of how we create, that we're not victims. And I'm excited for the human to start to come back to themselves and realize this, that what is unraveling and what is going to continue to unravel, it just is. And it is part of the ascension, whether you are struggling with it, angry about it, depressed about it. What I'm excited about is for all of you that are going through this, to start to move into your sovereignty and say, oh my God, this is why I'm here. And I get to choose, I get to create the way in which I navigate this. I get to choose the way in which I navigate this. And there is nothing wrong with how I navigate it. The ability for the human to not beat themselves up anymore, and to not make things wrong, how they're seeing things, feeling things, any of that, that excites me. The ability to create their reality, that excites me. The ability for the human to start to really understand their sovereignty, that excites me. That they're not afraid of being in the arena, because we're in the arena. That you're not afraid of standing in that fire because you know who you are. That freaking excites me, because the more we do that, the more we're going to warrior the hell out of that denser consciousness, right? And we're not going to get caught up in it. We're not going to buy into it. We're not going to fight it. We're not going to rage against it. We're going to see that it's beautiful, that it's density alchemizing into light, that we're here in the arena to be able to stand brighter than it. And we get to have every single emotion around it as we're in it. And there's nothing wrong with that emotion that we're having, right? That's what excites me, is the clarity that the human is going to really start to hold, the remembrance that the human is going to, or the higher consciousness in human body is going to start to have. And then remembrance that you get to choose. You get to choose how you see the masks or the not masks, the vaccines, the not vaccines, the 5G, the not 5G, the Black Lives Matter, the not Black Lives Matter, everything, the pedophile ring that's going to come up, all of it. I mean, it's massive what's coming, massive. This is nothing compared to what's coming. And so the more sovereign you can get, the more surrendered and open you'll be to how you're going to navigate it. You're not going to be a victim. And you're going to have compassion for yourself and every other human. Empathy for every other human that's struggling with being in the arena.
And what sort of timeline do you feel? Because, I know the astrological timeline, but what do you intuitively feel? When will we?
Fast.
Fast.
It's going to be fast. And like I always say to people that ask, like, okay, when are these things going to happen? Or when are we going to be out of this phase of the ascension process, right? Who knows? They never tell me. It's just very quick. Everything is accelerating very, very fast. Like, don't be surprised by the end of the year, the pedophile rings are all of a sudden, all these famous people that we know, that we've admired are going to be on this pedophile list, right? Where things are going to break down. Hollywood's going to break down. The government's going to break down, right? It's going to be fast. What we have to realize is that we as a collective are jumping timelines, which means that if you're on one timeline, there is an outcome that could happen. But as soon as you jump to another timeline, i.e. increase of frequency in the body and in the human collective, you're now in a different timeline, which means there's a different outcome.
Yeah.
You can never predict an outcome because we are constantly increasing frequency inside of ourselves and collectively. So we're jumping timelines so fast right now that you cannot predict. You can't predict a time frame. You just have to move with the flow of the shifts that we're going through as quickly as we're shifting, and we're shifting real fast. We're jumping real quick. So this phase though that we're in, you guys, this physical shift, the beginning of our physical shift, this is the most intense part. It's like we didn't know how to swim and somebody literally dropped us into an 8-foot pool, you know, and all of a sudden we're freaking drowning and we're looking around like, hey, do you know how to swim? Because I'm about to die over here, right? And we have to learn how to swim as we are drowning. So that's what's happening right now. We are learning how to be in this massive, intense arena with all of the density, all of the dark. We're learning how to survive in it so that we can swim, so that we can continue standing in it while the rest of the external breaks down, right? And move and shifts into, or alchemizes, right? There's a lot more density coming. So this phase, I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't ask. I mean, if I were to hear what they're telling me in terms of like, in this now moment timeline, it's a couple years, right? That we're going to be in this kind of physical, really squeezed physical learning how, maybe 2 years. But again, that's what this timeline. So anything can happen. I mean, if you want to prepare yourself, I would prepare for a couple of years of this sort of intensity until it sort of settles down.
Yeah.
But we are learning how to be the warriors that we came here to be, the warriors of light. We're learning how to be it. We're learning how to be in that consciousness, that 5D consciousness as often as we can. We have to be. And so this is practice, you know, our practice part 1, you know.
Yeah, I think it's the most intense one because, you know, we all thought something like that could not happen, you know, in our wildest dreams, and it's actually happening, and it's happening in lightning speed. And I'm actually, you know, when you look at it from the outside, I'm pretty proud of humanity, like how we actually navigate that. It's crazy. We've never handled a situation like that this well, I would say, before, right?
I mean, it's interesting how we navigated it. It's interesting how we're continuing to navigate it. It could have been a lot worse. It could have gone a lot of different ways. And there's millions of humans that woke up, which was part of the reason for it, right? Like it was all perfect the way it unraveled and how it unraveled. And if it wasn't the virus, it would have been something else that would have catapulted us because we were ready. You know, we were in a high enough frequency, and the earth was in a high enough frequency to literally kind of move through like a cannon and catapult ourselves into the next dimensional field and the next highest frequencies, which is what we're doing right now. It just looks like chaos and, you know, all kinds of stuff, but it's I mean, we're doing an outstanding job, and we're continuing to, so we don't want to beat ourselves up. I mean, you know, when I tap into the Galactic Federation of Light every day, they're just like, keep going, nothing wrong down there, it's all perfect, you guys are doing it, you know. You're like, really? Yeah, you're just keep going. This is magic what's happening. It's absolute magic, and you're shifting the collective. You're doing what you came onto the earth plane to do. And yet we're sitting here like, you know, what chaos? Yeah, like, oh my God, can I make it one more week? Can I make it one more month? Like, am I going to be able to manage this? How do I manage this? How do you know? And that's okay. It's part of being in the arena, but it's all beautiful. It's all magic. It's all perfect. It's like this, there's no like, oh shit kind of feeling at all. It's like, yeah. And the amount of support that we have right now from higher dimensional realms, from higher dimensional beings, from the angelics, from the galactics, from so many different higher consciousnesses, it would bring us to tears because, you know, we're so supported on so many levels. Nothing bad's going to happen. Nothing horrible is going to happen. We're not going to find ourselves in any sort of massive cataclysmic suffering that some people may be throwing out there. You know, there's definitely those agendas, and that's just not going to, it's absolutely not going to happen. Just like if someone were to have said 6 months ago, hey, the entire world's going to shut down and you're all going to be stuck inside for 3 months, we would think that that would be a massive cataclysmic event that would be horrific, right?
Yeah.
And yet we were totally fine. I mean, not all of us. I mean, there was a lot of devastation that happened, but from the much larger perspective, it could have been a lot worse. We were highly protected during this time, highly protected, making sure that it sort of unraveled in the most peaceful way. So we're always being held in a lot of light, the whole entire earth plane and all beings on the earth plane. So, you know, we don't want to find ourselves in so much fear that we think that the worst is going to happen, because even though there are humans that found themselves in really devastating places and relationships and jobs and all of that stuff, there's always a divine plan. And in the big picture, it could have been a lot worse. And so it was pretty heavily protected.
Yeah, I see so too. Because obviously there could have been different scenarios, and even, you know, the fact that we are at home is sort of like protecting us to a certain degree from, you know, worse things that could have happened. So yeah, instead of seeing it as a restriction, we can also see that as a support, because again, like we mentioned before, it was our time to turn inward and to really work on ourselves. And the amount of people I've been in contact with, they literally shifted completely in these couple of months. And you know, that's what a couple of months of self-work or, you know, focus on yourself can do for you. And just imagine we would spend most of our life like that.
Well, and there's a reason, because what they're saying right now is there is more coming, and we have the warriors have to be ready, right? That we have to be on the ground ready for what's coming, right? And so there had to be this initial sort of wake the F up. There is massive work to do, and we're doing it now. The shift is now, right? This was how many millions of humans jolted awake. They lost their jobs, they lost relationships, they moved into different places on the planet. I mean, massive, devastating at times shifts, and also beautiful shifts that allowed people to finally step into their peace and their freedom and their love and their joy and so many things. But beyond all that, all of us had to be jolted awake. We had to get on the ground and say, okay, we are the warriors. We are standing in lines and we've got this. What's coming next? Let's go. We got this. What is coming next? And that's why right now, learning tools, learning ways to be in that 5D consciousness, learning how to navigate your emotions, like all of what we are learning right now is so imperative. It's not just like, oh, look at what I'm learning. No. This is really important, because what is coming next is even more intense. And we're preparing for that in a beautiful way, nothing to be afraid of, right? But we've got to look at what's actually happening from this bigger perspective, so we take it seriously. Right? Like, oh, okay, I'm ready. Bring it on. Like, let's go. I've got this. And it's not like humans against humans. It's not dark against light. It is alchemizing. So you want to see yourself as a warrior that's got this like lightsaber thing, right? From like Star Wars, where you're like, I am alchemizing the density and I'm alchemizing it into light. So instead of saying, we're going to destroy these paradigms, we're going to destroy these people's ways of being, instead of thinking about it like that, you really want to see it as energy and physics, right? Because then it really takes the duality out of it, and it makes it a little bit easier to sort of work through. So you want to see like the lightsaber, like density, which is lower frequency consciousness, shifting into light, holding higher frequencies, and shifting into these new ways of being.
Because I mean, you know, if you just think of, if you want to illuminate a room and there's like a light in there that is sort of like, you know, not as bright, you don't have to necessarily shut that light out or fight that light. You could just, you know, step into the room with a new light that is even brighter, and, you know, they both exist with each other, so to speak.
Or you bring 3 lights in the same room where that dim light is, right? And you've got all this light now. It doesn't even matter that that dim light is there, right? So it's kind of like, you know, you don't even have to leave the room. You're just like, oh, I can just bring 3 lights into this room. And that little light right there is just going to merge its light into the bigger light. And you're not even going to notice. Oh, okay. But the human aspect of us is like, you know, it's just challenging to, you guys, you have to have compassion for yourself. It's intense, you know, you got to be able to let yourself feel everything, and break down and whatever you need to do, because that's part of being the warrior. That's part of being in the room and being in the arena is you're human, meaning you're in human form, you're in density, and you can't escape it. And there's nothing wrong with the third dimension. But when you get clear on what the third dimension is, it's massively intense. It's very uncomfortable. But the more you can get comfortable with that uncomfortableness, the more you don't care when you are feeling that third dimensional consciousness. Instead of saying, oh, this is wrong, or I don't like this, you're just like, screw it. Today I'm feeling anger. Today I'm feeling sadness. Today I'm feeling depression. Why? Because you're in the arena. And there's nothing wrong with being in the arena. You know, we're not going to be able to hold, many of us are not going to be able to hold 5D consciousness 24/7. And we have to let that be okay. There are many light workers, way showers, starseeds that are holding 5D consciousness a lot of the time. God bless them. You know, I can't wait till I'm there, but I'm not there yet. And so I have to have compassion for where I am. And if you realize you're in the arena with 3D consciousness all around you, and you're going to feel it all, you have more compassion for yourself. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing. You're going to make it wrong that you're in the arena shifting the collective. You're going to make that wrong. Like, you're not doing anything wrong. The human's you're not doing anything wrong by standing in the arena in a third dimensional field, feeling everything. There's nothing. It's asinine to think there's something wrong. It's crazy. So when you're feeling anger or depression or sadness or anything that you start feeling, just remember, I'm in the arena, I'm standing in 3D consciousness, and this isn't going to last. Right? It's not going to last.
I love that. Oh, Lorie, honestly, I could listen to you forever. I wish you had a podcast and an audiobook and everything. So let us know where we can find you to binge, listen, watch your content.
YouTube and Facebook, Lorie Ladd, Facebook, Instagram, Lorie_Ladd. YouTube is just Lorie Ladd. And I have a beautiful Patreon community that I absolutely adore. And I show up 4 to 5 times a month live, and I just share and teach, and we do Q&A, we do guided journeys. We do so much, and I spend hours each time we go live with the community. So it's a really special place. I'm grateful to have it because I need it. But so far, those are the venues for now.
Amazing. I will definitely link everything down below. Thank you so much for your time and your insights. And for everyone who is watching, definitely connect with Lorie and her content.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was so much fun talking. I loved it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.